This past trade deadline was the NFL's most historic trade deadline. This is Kate's Takes, and let's talk about it. The first trade I want to talk about is the Bears trading their linebacker Roquan Smith to the Baltimore Ravens. After Smith publicly requested a trade, it was no surprise that he would get traded eventually. Smith was traded to the Ravens for a 2023 second-round pick and a 2023 fifth-round pick. The Baltimore Ravens are bolstering up and ready to contend, but the only thing that confuses me is how are you going to pay Roquan Smith when you already have to pay Lamar Jackson? For a second-round pick, you don't want this trade to be a rental. You need to pay Roquan Smith. So as of right now, I find this trade very confusing. On Chicago's case, I really support what they did. I've been very critical over this organization for the last couple of years, no bias intended, but I'm very, very impressed with how their organization has handled things so far. Chicago states that they are taking a step back from competing, but they want to let their younger guys get more reps in. Chicago is now loaded with picks and assets going into 2023. Not to mention that they have over $100 million in cap space to spend in free agency. The next trade would be Lions tight end TJ Hawkinson being traded to the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings seem to be all in on contending, and with tight end Irv Smith Jr. out, they had to make a move at tight end. Dan Campbell said there were a lot of trades on the table, so this comes to no surprise to me. The Lions received a 2023 second-round pick and a 2024 third-round pick, while the Vikings got Hawkinson, a 2023 third-round pick, and a 2024 conditional fourth-round pick. I completely understand the Lions side for not wanting to pay a tight end, but the only thing that confuses me is why in the world would they trade with the in-division rival? For the Vikings, this shows that they are ready to contend and they have a loaded offense under Kirk Cousins. The Vikings definitely want to seize the moment in a mediocre NFC. The next trade we have would be Steelers wide receiver Chase Claypool being traded to the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears traded a 2023 second-round pick in order to get wide receiver Chase Claypool. I understand why Chicago made this trade. They want to help Justin Fields' development as much as possible, but I feel like a second-round pick for Claypool is a little too steep. I understand that Claypool had a very promising rookie season, but I guess we're just going to have to see how this deal plays out in the long run. This makes me wonder how Amari Cooper got traded for a fifth-round pick. As for the Steelers, I completely understand why they wanted to move on with Claypool. It just wasn't working out. He was putting up wide receiver 3 numbers. By the way, I have to point out that the Bears and the Vikings made trades and the Green Bay Packers did not. Speaking of the Pittsburgh Steelers, they did make a trade with the Washington Commanders, and that was to acquire cornerback William Jackson. The Steelers acquired Jackson for a 2025 6th-round pick and a conditional 2025 7th-round pick. Washington finally relocates their disgruntled cornerback, and as for Pittsburgh, this just confuses me. Next up is the biggest trade of the trade deadline, and that was Bradley Chubb to the Miami Dolphins. Miami traded their 2023 first, which originally was San Francisco's, a 2024 fourth, and running back Chase Edmonds for outside linebacker Bradley Chubb and a 2025 fifth-round pick. Miami has no first-round picks in the upcoming draft, so it seems like they are all in on Tua being their guy. I really love this pick for the Dolphins. They did need a pass rusher, and they certainly got it in Bradley Chubb. For the Broncos, they got assets that they desperately needed. The Dolphins also traded for running back Jeff Wilson, bolstering up their run game. Another trade that people didn't expect was that the Falcons traded suspended wide receiver Calvin Ridley to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Ridley is eligible to return next season. Falcons got a 2023 fifth-round pick and a 2024 conditional fourth-round pick that can rise due to certain occasions. I love this for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They really show that they believe in Trevor Lawrence and want to give him every possible weapon to do so. Keep in mind, before Ridley got suspended, the Falcons were asking for a first-round pick for him because Calvin Ridley's so good. The Falcons were trying to deal Calvin Ridley before the suspension, so this comes as no surprise that they finally traded him. Quick pointer, Calvin Ridley is suspended in part because he bet the Falcons to beat the Jaguars, and now he's on the Jaguars. This league is unreal. The last trade I want to talk about is the Buffalo Bills sending running back Zach Moss and a 6th-rounder that could become a 5th-rounder for Colts running back Nyheim Hines. Buffalo gets a part of their offense that they desperately need. Nyheim Hines can run, and he can also catch the ball. He's 5th in receiving yards for running backs since 2018. This also shows that the Colts are looking toward the future and will get any assets they can get. I definitely don't remember this many trades being dealt before the deadline, and I swear, this league gets crazier and crazier each year. This is Kate's Takes. Stay tuned for more NFL content.